Welcome back to NetLab 8, configuring Active Directory domain services on VMware vSphere. I'm Richard Golson, and we're at task 8, where we will modify those permissions for that sysadmin Active Directory user and see how, once we've modified those, when we navigate the vSphere client, it actually has an effect. In this case, what we're going to do is set the sysadmin Active Directory user to read-only. After I change those permissions to read-only, when I navigate the vSphere client, I'm going to notice that I can't make any configuration changes with that using that account. So I'll go ahead and log out of the vSphere client and log back in as the sysadmin at vclass.local account and make the changes through that. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Here you can see that I'm now logged in the sysadmin at vclass.local account. And since I was last in here, I had left myself in the global permissions under access control. And here I can see that administrator account right here. And so what I would like to do now is change that netlab.local account here. So I'll go ahead with that highlighted. Click the modify or pencil icon. It's the edit icon. And what we're going to do is change this role from administrator, which provided many capabilities, to a read-only and see how that affects things. So let's go ahead and get that set up now. There's our read-only. And we'll leave all other settings unchanged. We'll hit the OK. And now from the drop-down menu, I'll go ahead and select the Hosts and Clusters tab. And you can see that right here, I have the ESXi Server 1 selected. And then what I want to do is make sure I have the Permissions tab selected here and that NetLab sysadmin account selected. So we're going to modify the permissions on this specific item here. So we'll go ahead and click the edit button again. And we're going to change this one to read-only as well. And then I'll go ahead and press OK. Next step is to log out of the sysadmin at vclass.local and log back into that sysadmin Active Directory account. So when we come back, you'll see that we'll be logged in under that account. Okay, so you can see here I've logged back in with the sysadmin at netlab.local. And I'm in the Hosts and Clusters node, and I have the ESXi Server highlighted, ESXi 1. So remember, we'd given read-only permissions on this. So at this point, let's see what happens. When I right-click on it, you will notice that many of the options that we previously had permissions to access no longer are available to us. So we can no longer create a new virtual machine. We can no longer create resource pools. If we select maintenance mode, we can no longer manage maintenance mode. If I go to storage, no longer available to me. So host profiles even. So much has now been removed from my capabilities. One of the ones that we saw earlier was the connection option, and notice that that is no longer available to us. So at this point, you can see that if I go back up to this level here, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and select on the vCenter level. And if you recall, we had given ourselves permissions, those root level global permissions that allow us to manage the whole of vSphere using this account. And if I right click on it, you'll see that having modified those settings at that global level, we no longer have capabilities for doing things like creating a new data center or a new folder. So this user is now read-only for the vCenter server appliance as well. that's it. So now we've learned how to manage and control access to our environment using the permissions and the roles and the users, and combining all of that to getting fine-grained identity and access management. At the same time, we also learned how to add a new identity source, so that way we can manage those kind of identities that are already available to us through our Active Directory, and really take advantage of single sign-on so our users don't need to manage two different sets of credentials. All right. Well, that does it for this lab. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed and have some fun with it with the NetLab.